We do have volunteers every month at one of our meetings. There's a table in the back which is set up to change your voter registrations. They have voter registration sheets back there. They also have sign-up sheets if you'd like to join and help with the efforts of the Republican Party in Palm Beach County. They have a table in the back there. Please visit them if you're not active and involved. That's the purpose here. We want you to be active and involved. So this is what we do. We provide entertainment here, keep you engaged, but we want you to be active and involved. I mean, just rolls in the state of Florida back in November turned red. This was always a Democrat majority state. It's now a Republican majority state. Over the last 5 years, we've gained about 400,000 votes in registration. Believe it or not, even Palm Beach County has shown 15,000 votes improvement since 2018, okay? So we're moving in the right direction. But we have to face this election as if we're behind by 300,000 votes. So we need you involved. We need you to sign up on the table back there. All right, our next speaker I'm going to ask to come up again. I gave him a couple of minutes. Jason Mariner, his election is tomorrow. This is a special election. And we're going to ask again that you be involved. Jason has with him tonight call sheets. And we want you to take some of those call sheets to make sure and remind people are going out to vote tomorrow. Jason Mariner, come on up.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for everybody that's here. And that is a flag that I will die for. And I hope all of you will too. As has been said, Election Day for me is tomorrow. South Florida is still blue. We need to change that, and we have the chance to change it. But we have this little problem. We have a low voter turnout on the Republican side. We need to get that turnout through the roof, because if we can do that, we take this seat, we shock the world, and we send a message to the socialist movement that's taking America that we are done with them. I'm done with them. Are you done with them?
Yeah.
Who's done with them?
Done with it.
As President Trump may have said, and still may say, get him out of here. No more socialism in America. So here we have a broken microphone stand.
All right.
And we've got scripts, and we've got call sheets. And if everyone in here takes one script and one call sheet, there's about 25 people on each sheet, and you call 25 people tomorrow, we will turn out the vote, get out the vote, and beat them. And this anti-American, nasty woman will have to go out into the desert and lick her wounds, and she'll never be heard from again. And I guarantee you this, once we take District 20, they think that they might get it back in a year, and they won't get me out of there with dynamite. So like I've said before, I go nowhere. I keep fighting for our country. I hope you will too. So please, get a script, get a call sheet, do your part. This is so terribly important. We take this country back seat by seat. And it started for me 5 months ago. If you haven't started, or you have, please get a sheet. We've got Jordan over here, he'll pass them out. We've got Joe over here, he'll pass them out. God bless America. God bless you. And don't ever, ever, ever let them take your hope. Because last time I walked up those stairs, I shook hands with Speaker Newt Gingrich. That's proof that this is the land of opportunity, and that will never stop on my watch. I won't let it. So God bless you all. Thank you all for being here. Get out there and vote, and tell everyone you know to get out there and vote. We've got to do this. Thank you, everyone. Oh yeah, and by the way, an interesting thing contained in these lists, these are actually registered Republicans that have not voted as of today. Are we going to show the world that we're the party that doesn't play because we feel like we might be losing? No, I don't think so. We're going to show them that we are going to fight. So get out there and fight. Call these people on these lists and tell them that they need to do their part and get out there and vote, because we've got this. We're close. We are very close. That's why they're doing the things that they're doing. You see my signs disappearing, being vandalized. They don't do that to people they're not worried about. So let's get on it. Let's get these calls made. I'll never stop. I hope you won't either. God bless you all. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for coming out again to Club 45 in spite of all the things that we're dealing with COVID-19. You decided it was worth it for you to come out, and we certainly appreciate it, and we certainly want to deliver tonight. We have a fantastic speaker tonight that I have the honor of introducing. Joe Concha is one of the most respected. Stand up, Joe. Joe is one of the most respected and hard-working media personalities in present-day America. He is bold. He does not shy away from expressing his views on politics. Joe is a Fox News contributor and a columnist for The Hill. He joined Fox News as a contributor in 2020. He speaks frequently in support of Donald Trump. He's been married to Jean Eileen Concha, an emergency room doctor, since May 15th in 2010. Joe and Jean have 2 school-age children. It's my distinct pleasure to be able to introduce to you tonight Joe Concha. Thank you.
Standing O. Larry, the open bar is working. Boilermaker Monday. I love it. Yeah, I'm buying. It's funny, Larry just read, my bio, which I assume you read online, and that same bio says that I'm worth $4 million, which is kind of cool. It thinks my dog is my son. Now, Cameron, Liam, and Chase. Chase is the dog, but so that's funny. You get these bios written about you. So I forgot to pack pants. That was interesting. Unfortunately, I've seen some speakers that actually had jeans on. That's a good thing. I guess it's more of an informal thing. But if you watch me on TV and you watch Fox, I almost never have pants on because it's from my basement. You gotta love technology. No. That's right, Joe. I'm the other Joe in his basement. We'll get to Joe's in a moment. But yeah, I actually was in Fox at their studios a couple of weeks ago, and Stuart Barney's in front of me, and I always thought he was like a cyborg. I'm like, this guy's real. I actually touched him. It's like, you're okay, Joe. I'm like, all right, good for you, Stu. So yeah, so like Larry said, I'm a columnist for The Hill, contributor to Fox News. I once had a show on Newsmax, believe it or not, which none of you saw. This is when Newsmax first launched. It was like 2015, and they were broadcasting in standard definition, which is like listening to an 8-track in your car. It's like, this isn't gonna work. They put more money into that set, like Wayne's World put more money into the set. So the show didn't do too well, and that was that. I'm a family guy, like Larry said. I'm married to an ER doctor, my wife Jean. It's an awesome perk to be married to a doctor. We have more drugs in the house than like Pablo Escobar. And we're talking about open bar before. I'm a Maker's Mark guy. I'm like literally the only person in New Jersey who drinks bourbon. Go figure. Well, it's kind of a funny story. In college, my manhood was challenged by this girl pretty Southern girl, and senior year, and we go out, and I'm like, oh, I'll have a Budweiser. When are you going to become a man, Joe, and start drinking something other than that slop? I'm like, this is the sexiest thing anybody's ever said to me. Yeah, you got to have bourbon, boy, and I had bourbon. I have not gone back since, so go figure. But I took ivermectin for my hangover a couple days ago. That shit works. Couldn't believe it. So go figure. Wow.
That's funny.
And then the things, with the wife, not just the drugs, but the things you could do with the defibrillator in the intimate times. Forget getting the home test. Get the home defibrillator. Viagra. Who needs that? So my kids' names, Cameron and Liam, I mentioned them before. Nice Irish names. Jesus. Oh, thanks. I was about to get mugged. New Jersey. So my mother, her name was Gallagher, and then on my wife's side, obviously Irish there too. So we went Cameron and Liam for the names, but this is a true story. We were this close to naming Liam Brandon.
Oh!
He came out, and we still didn't have the name. It was this thing like we wanted to look at him and like, what does he look? Does he look like a Liam? Does he look like a Brandon? I like 90210. I like the name Brandon. Go figure. And Liam won out, thankfully. Because you imagine being named Brandon now? You're in junior high. Mar-a-Lago Junior High. Like, how's that going for you? Then on my wife's side, when Cameron was born, it was between Cameron and a name that sounds a lot like Cameron because my mother-in-law's name is Karen. Can you imagine that? Brandon, Karen, we're gonna take you out of school now. Oh, for COVID? Oh no. So you don't get the ever-living crap beaten out of you. But how about being born with the name Joe? I mean, talk about being born under a bad sign. I mean, I was named after Joe Namath. Broadway Joe. Which is kind of interesting when you think about it. At the time, he was basically a womanizing, drunken gambler. So what was my dad thinking? Great quarterback, though. Great quarterback. Jets haven't won since. What's that? Wearing the fur coat on the sideline. That's right. Oh, he was the best. Still is the best. He's alive. What am I saying? He's in those commercials you see every other minute. With Jimmy Walker. Odd. Right. So, but now at least I take solace with the fact that Joe Biden, the president, is like the 7th most powerful Joe in the country. It's not even one, right? Because who is Joe Manchin, right? He's the president right now. He's got all the power. Is somebody recording this? A Democrat is getting a rousing applause. We'll figure on that. So you figure Manchin's ahead of Biden, and then probably Joe Burrow, the great quarterback for the Bengals. He's ahead of him, right? And then Joe Pesci. I mean, the Irishman. It's a great performance. And even Joe Piscopo. Biden Piscopo. I like Joe. You gotta have Joe speaker. You want me to talk to him? He's a friend. I never thought I'd say that. Like, I watched that guy on Saturday Night Live when I was like 10, and now I'm like, having phone calls with him. Go figure.
He'd be great here.
But I wanted to play this, by the way. Larry, can you throw me my phone? No, that would kick it. So you get a yellow case when you have an 8 and a 6-year-old because these things have legs. So if you're wondering why I have that, right? But I gotta play this clip from Joe Biden because it really is remarkable that this person is actually the leader of the free world. All right? And this is something that he said over the weekend. And if you watch the news, there are these horrible wildfires that hit Colorado. So he goes out there to, I guess be the consoler in chief. That's what you do, natural disaster. You go visit, where the disaster happened. So I'm going to try to play this through my phone on here. And anybody in this room, all right, I got $20 in my wallet right now, who can decipher exactly what he is trying to say, that $20 is yours, okay? So here we go.
When I visit the National Renewable Energy Lab, about 20 miles I said from here, it's also going to create a significant number of jobs. The reason I'm telling you this is that's no solace that you lost your home now. But it's that we're going to be able to do a lot of renewable things that allow you to not only rebuild, but afford to rebuild and rebuild better, to build back better than it was before. And it includes billions of dollars for wildfire preparedness, resilience, and response to protect homes and public resources. And
Okay. No takers? All right. Let's go, Brandon. Can you imagine this? Think of this for a second. Your home, everything you've ever had in your life, right, is gone. And the president's speaking to you and saying, now I know that this may be an upsetting moment for you, but the windmills are going to save the next home that you have to rebuild in order to. Electric car, right, exactly. I just can't get over it. I mean, you saw what happened last week in Virginia, right? That huge snowstorm, and then all the highways shut down. Could you imagine if we all had electric cars during that?
Oh my gosh.
Is there a charging station in the middle of nowhere that we could go with? Exactly. I like this crowd. They're interactive. They just yell like random stuff and you cannot understand anything they're saying. There she is. All right, very good. You want to come up here? You can finish for me. That's fine. Too funny. So 2022 is going to be a great year for two entities, right? And I think we all have it. Common sense and sanity. Because I think that's going to make a big comeback, right? And I think that if you're a conservative and you run in the midterms, you don't have to really rethink the wheel here too much, all right? Basically, you have now a country that is more expensive to live in and less safe to live in. Those two factors will cripple any presidency. Ask the last one-term Democratic president, Jimmy Carter, right? Inflation high, Middle East a mess. He loses what? It's something like 40-something states, right? To Ronald Reagan. So when you have inflation so high, 20 cities had homicide records broken, right? And isn't that amazing? After the summer of love of 2020, right? And I gotta watch CNN and MSNBC, and the guy's up there is just like, these protests are mostly peaceful. Behind it, it looks like the friggin' Nakatomi Plaza at the end of Die Hard. The thing is crumbling down. You literally see people punching each other behind them. They're mostly peaceful. Boy, I wonder why there's no trust in media these days. It's incredible. And you hear what Nancy Pelosi said about the crime wave? So she finally gets asked about, her district, which is San Francisco, which is falling apart. She says this, it's absolutely outrageous. Obviously, it cannot continue. The fact that there is an attitude of lawlessness in our country that springs from, I don't know where, and we cannot have that lawlessness become the norm. Oh, shut the front door. You're saying this now. Well, that's a good line, by the way. It works at every party. Shut the... And then you go to the front door. No one sees it coming. It's great. She didn't talk about this during the mostly peaceful riots in 2020. When was the last time you saw the President of the United States flanked by police officers, police unions, saying, crime is out of control and I'm going to do something to stop it? Of course he won't. He didn't run on that. He ran on reforming the police and reimagining the police. How's that working out, right? So, look, these networks, by the way, going off on Florida a lot, I've noticed, right? This is what I study. Florida, this place is, it's the Death Star in Star Wars, right? And they go off on Ron DeSantis, your excellent, excellent governor. President DeSantis, one day, I would think. Seriously. You guys all love Trump. Boy, he's a lot like Trump, isn't he? He's unapologetic, he's fearless, he doesn't take anything from the media, and he has principles. He doesn't care about what the press is going to say or what this person has to say. Ivy League educated, that helps. I went to a state school, but we all turn out differently. And he obviously is a war veteran, so boy, that is one unbeatable candidate, no question about it. But remember when he opened the beaches in 2020, right? The beaches, outdoor, open space. He's going to kill everyone. You got that idiot who was walking around like death, that CNN was putting on every other day. Wear a mask, stay home, that's what they told you. They said Florida's got it all wrong. But then, suddenly, I'm seeing people out en masse in New York and Washington, Chicago, all these cities. Oh, that's right. The virus. The cause is bigger than the virus. So don't go out unless it's to protest against police. Then suddenly, COVID will know it's okay. I'm not coming near you because what you're doing is right. So it stays off. And we even saw that when the Bucks won the Super Bowl last year, right? And people went out and watched the games at outdoor bars. They said, oh, this is a huge super spreader event, and then nothing happened. But then the former President Obama has Obama-palooza at Martha's Vineyard. And you got the New York Times saying, well, it's a smart and sophisticated crowd, so they should be okay. Because COVID knows that if you got more than 1,300 on your SATs, you're fine. Forget the vaccine, you do well with big words, you're fine, math, verbal, so on, right? Now, meanwhile, yesterday, you hear the CDC director told Brett Baer that, I'll quote it now, 75% of COVID deaths were in people with at least 4 comorbidities. So if you're doing the math on that then, if we've had 800,000 deaths from COVID and 75% were from people who are already deathly ill, then you are talking about 100,000 deaths from COVID in 2020 and another 100,000 and change in 2021. And then you look back and you say, okay, what does that compare to? Well, the flu. The flu in 2019 killed 80,000 people. You don't clap, 80,000 people are dead, you sick individuals. I'm kidding, you're clapping at the point, I know. But then, we shut down the country, right? And all those businesses shut down. My poor brother's friend worked his ass off in opening a restaurant, got it up and running, great restaurant, and he had to close it, because you're not getting customers, you're not making money. My kids, 2 years, my daughter said this to me yesterday, I swear to you, not yesterday, it was last week. She said, Dad, I don't remember a time where I went to school without the buggy. We call it the buggy because coronavirus is, too many syllables for a 6 or 7 year old to say. And it's true, she's never gone to school, kindergarten, first grade, now second grade, basically without a mask. I mean, can you imagine that? So you see the mental health problems that kids have, and it's just a horrible thing. And now, look, in Florida today, your kids are in school, right? Or your grandkids. How's that going in Chicago? Right. The teachers union says we can't go in. You know how much money they were given in COVID relief? $2 billion. Damn Beetlejuice, thank you. This guy's on a roll. What's your name? Nice to meet you, Tom. I tried growing a beard once, it didn't go well. All right. But anyway, Nancy Pelosi, I could talk about her all day. She's the best. She'll be moving. I read she bought a house here, but then maybe that report wasn't verified. But she's moving here in mid-November because she will be retired, and that's despite the fact her approval rating among the media is 98%. That's impressive, right? But then you look at the Real Clear Politics average. That's like an average of polls. Then it's more. Let's see, 33% that she's at this point. And after the midterm, she promises that she'll retire. She'll be unemployed forever. But did you catch her last week during the January 6th, the Super Bowl is what DeSantis called on the cable news networks, right? And it's this somber day, it's supposed to be anyway, right? And Democrats are saying that, democracy is literally hanging by a thread, and, we need to honor everybody that was involved that day as far as police officers, and I agree, obviously. But then to say, for her to go, please join me in welcoming the cast of Hamilton as they perform their Broadway hit. Shut up! Hamilton? You have to expect like Taylor Swift to go strolling out being like, hey, and the cast from Cats to do Memory. I mean, what a farce. And then I got to hear from the Vice President of the United States that January 6th was worse than Pearl Harbor? Worse than 9/11? I was in New York on 9/11. No. It's just the biggest insult to the American people and the families that still have to live with that pain to this day. And remember, lots of families, because we're talking about thousands that died in those 2 attacks, but then the wars that happened after that. You're talking hundreds of thousands of Americans. And she's talking about January 6th, where I think one person was shot, right? Ashley Babbitt, and we never got a reason why that happened still exactly. So one compared to hundreds of thousands. This is what the vice president has to say, right? And still, this whole argument that because Donald Trump talks about a stolen election, that is a chilling threat to democracy. But it wasn't a chilling threat to democracy when Hillary Clinton said that her election was stolen and that Trump was illegitimate, or Jimmy Carter said the same thing, or Stacey Abrams, who was like the biggest media darling since Michael Avenatti, all right? I mean, everybody loves this person, and she continues to say that her election was stolen for her. So that's okay when they do it. But when Trump does it, no. So that's why this thing, January 6th, from a ratings perspective, it bombed. You would think that CNN and MSNBC are going to have their big day. They got beat on that day, all right? But Fox like tripled them in some time slots. But Home and Garden TV beat them, which the missus and I actually liked. Oh wow, it's a good show. The rest of the renovation things and everything. Let's see, who else beat them? The Food Network beat them. I'm not making this up. You can look this up. Comedy Central beat them, which is ironic on so many levels. And then some channel, I've never heard of this before. I freaking cover media, I've never heard of this channel before. SYFY, I guess that stands for sci-fi. Right, so the blob that took Manhattan beat Jake Packer. Go figure on that. But it tells you that the American people are far more interested in other things right now, which is obviously the inflation we talked about, crime we talked about, the border. We talked about how we live in a more expensive country and a less safe country. We're also a country that's really, really easy to get into, right? And we've had now 2.3 million people came into this country illegally in 2021. What's 2.3 million? Because a lot of people do this in cable news and drives me crazy. You need context. This is 2.3 million. What is equal to that? 3 times the population of Boston, all right? Or you add up Washington and Denver and Boston, you don't get to 2.3 million. So we've added 3 major NFL cities now just from illegal migrants coming here alone, and then apparently they're flown here to Florida because everybody comes to Florida, right? Swalwell, AOC, illegal migrants. This is paradise, let's face it. It really is. It's 15 degrees back in Jersey where I'm from. This is beautiful. Thank you. So, and crime's not isolated to cities, by the way, right? My car got stolen last year, out of my driveway, right? Now, did I leave my keys in the car? Yeah. But what kind of technology do we have now? This is supposed to be an improvement. I'm used to putting a key in the ignition, and then when I'm done, I take it out. Now, somebody thought it was a really good idea to invent a car that if the keys are anywhere in the car, it will start. And then, even better, if you leave the car without the keys, it doesn't tell you that your keys are still in the car. This stupid thing beeps through everything except for that. And then, on top of that, I'm sharing this story whether you like it or not. The mirrors are inverted in when you leave the keys in the car. You are practically screaming to criminals, take me! The keys are already in! So then I got a call like 2 weeks later, we found your car. Great. Where is it? Newark, New Jersey or Newark, New Jersey? It's in Newark, sir. How did you know that? Just a guess. Because they have boats there where they can take it away. Anyway, it's a long story. But they totaled the car, but they left receipts in the car. Like they literally were buying things. I'm not making this up, and underwear. They probably lived out of it. And the cops were like, okay, well, we'll try to get on this. I'm like, but you have names, you have this. They're like, we are so stretched. Well, sir, we'll try, but I'm just trying to manage your expectations. All right, fine. So anyway, that's my stolen car story. By the way, what's with the messaging? All right, so I study messaging. I'm a fairly articulate guy sometimes. And what's with, for instance, the president, his agenda, his legacy is built on Build Back Better, right? Which is trillions and trillions in spending, mostly to expand government, right? And then when he's trying to sell it, he does this thing, and my neighbor did this growing up, and it's gonna cost you $0. Stay away from the light. What am I watching? Poltergeist? What is that? I don't get what the whisper's supposed to do. And then he says, it's gonna reduce the deficit and lower inflation. Now, my dad was an accountant, and I took Econ 101 once. I am certain that if you spend trillions of dollars and flood the system with it, that devalues the dollar and therefore maybe, just maybe, raises inflation in the deficit. So maybe that's why that didn't pass. And again, President Manchin and Vice President Sinema, we have to thank for that. Well, I did have a neighbor that did that growing up. Like, whenever she had to share something that was gossipy, and we all know somebody that's like this, she'd be like, oh, did you hear about Mr. Applebaum? Cancer. Why is she whispering? Hey, Mr. Smith's kid, he's in trouble. You know why? Drugs. God, I miss living there. It's amazing. And then the messaging from the White House press secretary. She's a treat, right? Now, who here has seen the movie, it's about 20 years old, American Pie? Okay. There's one character in there, and she has short red hair. She begins every sentence with, and one time at band camp.
Oh, yes.
Saki speaks the same way. Every third word has a period next to it. And there's always this thing going on with that. And so she would say something like, well, Peter, Ducey, actually, it's the Republicans who want to defund the police. Republicans want to defund the police. Yes. So she's a treat. And then you got Kamala Harris, right? Let's see. Oh, ooh, we got a nerve. I could say Joe Biden, I wouldn't get that reaction. Kamala, okay. All right. So the decision's made. All right, we got this crisis at the border. You know, it's just a catastrophe. It's like 7-Eleven, right? Why do they have locks on the doors of 7-Eleven, by the way? I never figured that out because it's 24/7. So if you're never closing, you don't really need locks. That's basically our border now at this point, right? It's open. So they're like, who can we put in charge of this massively complex problem? Let's look at Kamala Harris's statements about illegal migration back when she was a candidate and a senator. Oh, she compared ICE to the KKK? We got our girl! Of course! Said that illegal migration should be made legal. This is the person that's in charge of this. So then when she actually does an interview and Lester Holt asks her, when are you going to the border? We have been to the border. We have been to the border. We have been to the border. Make it stop! It's looping at this point. And he goes, but you haven't been to the border. And she says, cackle, cackle, I haven't been to Europe either. She'll be here all week. So that's plan B, by the way, if Biden doesn't run. That's your plan B. Currently polling at 28%, USA Today. Congratulations. I gotta meet those 28% sometime, you know? Tell me what you think she's doing well. I'm curious. Or when 23% of people say that Afghanistan was handled well. Oh, wouldn't you love to have some onion rings and go bowling with those folks sometime? So tell me how you think that went well. Amazing. So anyway, I loved how Trump was like the enemy of the press. No president, and you can look this up, this is not like a rah-rah yay thing. No president spoke to the press more than Donald Trump in just 4 years. Right? Was not afraid. Here's an interesting stat for you. Joe Biden has done 16 one-on-one interviews, and they're all cotton candy questions, right? He won't actually sit down with somebody tough. Donald Trump at this point in his presidency had done 75. Not very good at math, but I'm pretty sure that's well more than 4 times the amount, right? So that's the thing about Biden has not had a press conference in 70 days, and why would you put him out there? So I just wonder, like, will he run? But then, all right, if Kamala is plan B, that's not good. Then Pete Buttigieg looks like he should be running for, like, you know, senior class president and not like president of the United States. Right. And he's done such a great job with the supply chain, so, you know, you got to give him that. And then Andrew Cuomo, he's not available.
Oh!
Gavin Newsom has nice hair, but he almost got recalled in California, so that's out. Marianne Williamson, is she going to run again? I mean, in other words, the bench it's like the Jaguars bench. Like, there is no bench. Like, I don't see who they run. If they don't run, sorry, I know there might be some Jacksonville fans. They had a nice win yesterday. Who saw that coming? Oh, man. But right now, when we talk about education, we are 25th in the world, people. 25th in the world in math, in reading, and in science. You'll never guess who's number 1.
Oh, China, of course.
Yeah, but you got to say it the way Trump says it. China. Mr. Trump, how do you spell China? Chyyyina. I don't, it's a Trumpism. I mean, it's funny, right? So Ireland's 11, Australia's 21. We're behind all of these countries. And Bill Maher, of all people, all right, I get he's liberal, but he had the best line. He said, you know why China's number 1? He said, while they're building the bridge or fixing the bridge, we're debating on what to rename it. I'm like, that's a good line. You gotta give credit where credit's due, right? And you know, already my kid's in kindergarten, and I gotta hear about how critical race theory is slowly being worked into his curriculum, right? Look, I studied Dr. Martin Luther King. I actually wrote a thesis on him, and he said, and it's a pretty original thought, right? Don't judge somebody by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That's what I want my kids being taught. Instead, critical race theory teaches the exact opposite of that, to look at everybody through a racial prism. And now, look what happened in Virginia, right? Glenn Youngkin. If I said the name Glenn Youngkin a year ago to you guys, you'd be like, oh, who's he? The point guard for the Washington Wizards? No, he's going to run for Virginia governor. He won a state that Joe Biden won by 10 points. That's incredible, right? And he won it on education. So that's going to be a huge, huge issue on top of inflation, on top of crime, on top of border, on top of Afghanistan in 2022. And now Democrats, talk about irony, they are now seen as the anti-parent party. You don't want to be that going into this, right? Anyway, I don't want to speak too long because I know all of you want to run home to watch Don Lemon's CNN show. I think this audience eclipses what Don gets on that at this point.
Got blood, somebody?
What's that?
Let me come up here.
Okay. Is this guy drunk?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Brendan Dilly Show.
Brendan Dilly.
Brendan Dilly.
Hi, Brendan.
Brendan Dilly Show.
Thanks.
And you're going to love this show today. It was on Facebook.
Goodbye.
This couldn't wait until after the speech. No, thanks, man. That's cool.
You'll
That's
love
cool.
it.
I appreciate that. Too funny. Yeah, CNN, boy, they're going through a tough time right now. I mean, when Jeffrey Toobin did what he did on that Zoom call, which was one of the more self-serving things you could think of, literally. And then Toobin somehow doesn't get the shaft.
Oh.
And then Jeff Zucker and CNN, they give him a happy ending. They give him his job back. But now the problem is, if you watch CNN, he's doing legal analysis like, boy, that Kyle Rittenhouse is an idiot. He's doing this the entire time. I'm like, this is so distracting. It's like he's about to call touchdown. Why are his hands above the desk? It doesn't make any sense. But hey, Chris Cuomo got the boot, right? That's amazing. And again, think of the spring of 2020, right? These guys, Andrew Cuomo and Chris Cuomo, they're like the Smothers Brothers. They're like Milli Vanilli, right? Everybody loved these guys. Well, I didn't, but everybody did. And now Andrew's gone, and Chris doesn't have a job anymore. And everybody compares him to Fredo Corleone, right? Godfather. He's more like Sonny. There's an anger problem there. I mean, no, he's Fredo, let's face it. What person gets COVID, goes on TV to talk about how he has COVID and is having these illusions at night of seeing like his dead father floating above him and all these things? I'm like, boy, this is a little bit over the top. And then he breaks his own quarantine. He drives 30 minutes to his other Hamptons house that is currently under construction, gets into a verbal argument with like a 60-something-year-old guy going by, like, Chris, I just saw you on TV last night. You were saying that you still have a fever and that you're shedding the virus. And then Cuomo yells at him to the point where the guy has to open up a police report against him. And then Cuomo brags about the confrontation on the radio the next day. Is this the stupidest person on the planet? And then 4 days later, he comes up. I've always dreamt of this moment when I could finally emerge from my basement. What happened to this network? I swear I got into journalism because of CNN and their coverage of the first Gulf War. Boy, we're a long way from there, that's for sure. But a lot going on in cable news. You may have heard my friend Jesse Waters was awarded the 7 p.m. show on Fox.
Oh, that's awesome.
Boy, that hair. What a road. I mean, this guy was a production assistant. That's like the lowest of the part of the TV world, right? When you first break in. Then O'Reilly says, why don't we send that kid out to do, interviews with people on the street? That turns into what? Then he gets Waters World. He gets the 5. Now he gets the 7 o'clock show on top of that. Just shows you, you work hard. Don't let anybody tell you what you should not do.
Yeah.
And it's true. I worked in sales 6 years ago. I was writing, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills. But eventually, you just keep persevering. Greg Gutfeld now is beating Colbert and Kimmel and Fallon in the ratings. Isn't that amazing? Colbert has, I know this for a fact, he has 17 writers for his show. 17. You know how many Gutfeld has? He has Gutfeld.
Himself.
And he still beats them. Because it's what Roger Ailes said about Fox in general. And Newsmax applies to this too, to a certain extent, and they're doing better, and I have no ill will against those guys. Greg Kelly's a friend of mine, Spicer is hilarious, they're all good people. I'm not going to bash the competition, that's what the other guys do. But he said that Fox is popular because they found their niche audience, half the country, right? It fills a void. That didn't exist before, so Ailes was ahead of his time. Mark Levin's show continues to do great, I've been on there a couple times. So, I got a radio show in I want to say 2018, and they put me up against Levin in New York in drive time. So I get this call from like Joe, it's Mark Levin. Okay, Mark. Wow, I didn't know you had my number. Yeah, I know people. So you seem like a nice guy. They put 7 people in that time slot that you just got. All 7 are gone. Good luck. Mr. Producer. And you'll never guess who doesn't have a radio show anymore. Me! COVID killed it. Long story. Anyway. So, I'll leave it here, guys. I'll leave it. Dan Bongino? He was here before. We did he said, let's do a push-up contest, and then we did it, and he just left. It was really bizarre. He lives around here, Bongino, right? Yeah. Home studio also. That's how I got my Joe in my basement home studio. I said, great, you're going all the way to Miami to do these things? Oh, no, I got it right in my hands. So when you watch it, and again, no pants, just kind of keep that in mind. But we're at a point now, everybody, and I don't really have to explain this. We talk about bias in journalism. We're well beyond bias at this point. Journalism has now become activism, like literally injecting yourself into the story to try to change an outcome. We saw that with Trump. Remember this is remarkable, and people don't talk about it enough. The Access Hollywood tape was leaked to the Washington Post 2 days before the second presidential debate against Hillary Clinton, 3 weeks before an election. Any other candidate, they either drop out, they're done, right? And Trump was able to survive it, I think, because people said, wait a minute, there's something really, really wrong about this. And now we saw it with Rittenhouse, right? You got MSNBC following the jury van. The producer goes through a red light, idiot, and he gets pulled over. And why are you trying to follow the jury van? If the jury knew that they were being followed, that could be intimidation. Maybe they're thinking, boy, what's going on here? I could go on with like 1,000 examples. Jussie Smollett, right?
Yeah.
Boy, what a story that was, huh? So we were led to believe, right? And everybody in media believed this, but I have tape with me on Tucker Carlson saying there's a lot of questions about this story, and there isn't enough scrutiny right now. We were supposed to believe that, that Jussie Smollett at 2:30 in the morning during a polar vortex in Chicago, trust me, I'm a Bears fan. I've been out in Chicago in January at night. You ain't going to Subway, right? You're barely going there at 2:30 in the afternoon anyway. Who goes to Subway? But no, he was going to Subway to get a sandwich at 2:30 in the morning, and then these two guys who happen to be wearing red MAGA hats, they're on the prowl, all right, for gay actors of color. And boy, are they prepared. They got a noose and they got bleach. They are ready for this moment. And we're supposed to believe that. I mean, I could go on and on, but look, the New York Times hasn't endorsed a Republican presidential candidate since 1956. Think about that, right? That was Stevenson Eisenhower, I want to say. That's a long time ago. Washington Post has never endorsed a Republican presidential candidate, ever. And yet they're the two papers of record. They're the two beacons of journalism. No, they ain't. Fortunately now, the internet and all these different options that you have, my friend Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, that could be an excellent read. Daily Caller, FoxNews.com, you could go on and on. I used to say Drudge. Now I don't know what happened to Drudge. It was like Drudge somehow got like hypnotized or something, and I have no idea what's going on with that. But here's the thing. You say, okay, does the media still have influence? Well, before the 2016 election, The Hill, my publication, we decided to compile all these endorsements to each of the candidates, right? And Hillary Clinton got 57, and Donald Trump got 2. And that got Hillary Clinton a concession speech and a set of steak knives. Imagine that? Every paper basically in the country saying, vote for this person. Everybody said, yeah, screw you, I'm going to vote for her. So that's kind of funny. So then what happens in 2024? I'm seeing all this merchandise, right? 2024, Trump, and will he run, will he not run? Here's what I secretly hope for, okay? And follow along with me for a second. You don't want to yell stuff at me. Just keep the yelling. Just 2 seconds, okay? Thank you. So after Republicans take the House, and they will, you're looking at 50, 60 seats. Obama lost 63 in 2010, and he even passed Obamacare. He even had like a victory, so to speak. And Trump lost 43 seats. If you're in power, you lose seats, and the Republicans only have to flip 5. So yeah, they're going to take back the House. And then the Senate, they only have to flip 1 seat, net positive, and then they take back the Senate. And maybe you get cocaine Mitch, maybe you don't. Who knows? Who cares, right? You have 2/3 of power then at that point. But then, when Republicans do take back the House, you can name anybody House Speaker. You could be House Speaker. Larry could be House Speaker. I could be House Speaker. Or Donald Trump could be House Speaker. Yeah! Hey, not everybody's standing. Wait, it gets better. You will stand when you hear this result. Now think about it. Then it's the State of the Union, okay? And you got that shot. You got the president speaking, and then you have Donald Trump, and then whoever the majority leader is, McConnell, right? And then Biden's making all these claims, $0, and Trump's just doing the faces, right?
Oh my God, can you imagine?
And then at the end, Biden says, the state of our union is strong, and God bless our troops. And then Trump stands up and does this. It's been done. Yeah. And then the next day, Trump holds a press conference and says he will launch impeachment proceedings into Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And somehow it works, where Joe Biden not only is convicted in the House but the Senate, and he's removed. Guess who becomes president in that scenario? The House Speaker. I mean, come on. Somebody in here knows him, has a phone. Tell him this is what you got to do. And then he endorses DeSantis for president after that. Says, okay, all right, I made my point. Ron runs, and then that's that. Oh, good, you like that. You embrace that. That's
Yes.
So now, I'll end it on that fun note, and we will do Q&A. For 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I just made up that number. 10 minutes.
Check, check, check. There we go. Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, we told you when we were singing, Giuseppe Concha.
Yeah.
Giuseppe.
My name is Italian, right?
From The Hill, Fox News contributor, and an all-around good guy. And how about a hand for this guy? He is funny. Kids, you have a question?
Gracias.
Anybody have a question here in the front row? Come on up here, ma'am. We have a question over here, Giuseppe. All right?
Who's going to fix the voting machines before the election?
Good question.
Who's going to fix the voting machine? You mean those Dominion machines?
Those Dominion machines.
Those Dominion machines, Joe.
You'll all fix them in the midterms when you give Republicans power back, when voting legislation gets killed by Joe Manchin. There's his name again, right? But there is hope for some of you to say, well, they're just going to cheat again, and what can we do to stop it? I'm old enough to remember that Virginia election I talked about. That was a big deal for them, right? Terry McAuliffe is Clinton royalty, and to lose that state was a very big deal. So if they had the means to cheat, they would have. But Republicans in that state, conservatives in that state, made sure they had eyes in every single precinct to make sure every vote was counted properly. That's what you do to fix the problem. Flood the zone, particularly in places like, Atlanta, or in Philadelphia, or in Arizona or Wisconsin, or wherever else where it seemed like maybe not some sketchy things happen. You have eyes on this, you fix the problem. I'm sorry, yell person, go ahead.
We have one question over here, Joe.
Yeah.
I want to know, when are you going to get your own TV show?
Oh!
Whoa! When is he going to get his own TV show?
Well, there's an opening on Saturdays at 8 on Fox. Waters World. Yeah. Oh, that would be nice. You have no idea. Well, you have an idea how expensive kids are, but particularly in New Jersey, highest tax state in the country. My kid's soccer, my wife, do I have my phone? She texted me before, she's like, oh, I signed Cameron up for spring soccer. And I said, all right, what's the damage? Now, when I played sports growing up, I played football, baseball, basketball. And you paid for the uniform and maybe a couple of extra bucks for the referees and so on and everything. Maybe it cost $100, right? $2,000 for my kid to play soccer.
Jeez. Those are expensive shin guards.
Yes. And then if they want to go to, let's say my daughter wants to go to Georgetown, right, where my wife went to school. You know what that is now? All in $75,000 a year. 65. And but the commuting and everything else like that, I'll even give you 65. $260,000, and that's before taxes, right? So I have to earn like $500,000 to send my kid to a 4-year school. It's insane. Why am I bringing this up? There's a reason. Oh, I need the show.
You need the show.
I need a bigger contract.
He's got to go to the show. Here we go, another question.
You took a little bit of the wind out of my sails, but I'm 2 for 2.
Okay.
When Dan Bongino was here,
Yeah.
I said, next time there's an opening, you're going to get a show. Ooh. When Jesse Waters was not here, but I'm a big fan of Jesse Waters, and I was so happy to see him get the show. And the wind you took out of my sails was number 3. There is an opening on Saturday night.
Yes.
And I think I'm going to vote for you.
I think we all like to call up Fox News Saturday night, 8 o'clock, and give a vote for Giuseppe. What do you say, folks?
The power in this room is amazing.
Thanks.
But my question is, Mayor Pete.
Repeat.
Is there any person in this country that is so eloquent and says absolutely nothing?
Boy.
Great question.
Yeah, Adam Schiff kind of to a certain extent, right? Adam Schiff's going to be here next week? Oh. Say, Larry, boy, you're really expanding out your guest list. That's great. You got to love Schiff, right? This guy lies for 4 years, says he has undisputed proof of Russia collusion with Trump campaign, with Donald Trump himself. Then the Mueller report comes out, and that turns out to be complete bullshit. And then after that, Schiff gets awarded a book deal.
Standard Hotel.
$1 million, right. Thank you, Yale person. Didn't understand a word you said. Okay, what do we got next?
Here we go. Over here to your left.
Oh,
I
okay.
hate to see left, but over here to your left.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Nadav, and like everybody here, I believe the narrative in media is not accurate. What can we do as citizens other than post fake news on our Facebook to hold the media accountable? Thank you so much.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Media accountability. Well, you said 10 minutes. That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is, right? You know, I guess we have to clone me and then just keep calling him out every chance we can. But it's a dying business. I talked before about all of the networks that beat CNN, right? It's because no one's watching anymore, right? They even got beat by INSP. Anybody ever watch that network? Yeah. So I brought it up on Hannity one time. I'm like, and they even got beat by INSP. INSP plays reruns of Gunsmoke. I'm not joking with you, right? Right? Yeah, that guy's Johnny. So you watch, right? Yeah. Okay. So there you go. So then the INSP people, heard what I said, and I said, but I'm sure it's a great network. I'm not bashing them in any way. And they sent me like a free cowboy hat or something, like to my house. I'm not making this up, I swear. So yeah, no, I think there's not. Boy, this is gonna sound so defeatist. There's not much we can do per se to hold the media accountable, except not watch and just continue to just explore all those options that are out there before that weren't. And I think social media also, it was Levin actually who said they're like the Paul Revere's of the internet, that whenever somebody does say something profoundly ridiculous, like Justice Sotomayor, for example, saying that there were 100,000 kids currently in hospitals and ICUs dying of COVID, call that out, right? So use your own megaphone in terms of social media, and then from there, hopefully there's enough people that are there to make sure that these sort of things don't happen. But ultimately, hold them accountable. I think it's dying so much already that I mentioned the endorsements thing, right? The influence is gone. What's that? Op-eds, yeah, I think to a certain, they're just hard to get printed, right? But now you don't even need to contact your paper. Your Substack, is just doing gangbusters. Look at Joe Rogan, right?
Right.
He didn't have to get hired by a corporate radio station. He started his own podcast, and now this guy has like 20, 30 times the listeners than CNN and MSNBC combined have viewers, right? So now, thanks to technology, you could be your own broadcaster, you could be your own policeman for the media, so to speak. I hope that answers that, yeah.
Well, Joe, you said that we as people can hold the media accountable, and one person finally from the Republican conservative movement taught us and showed us that go out there and stick it to him, and that man was Donald Trump.
That's right.
Another question over here.
Okay, so my question is related to the same issue that this gentleman mentioned. How do you feel about being a journalist on the media coverage by the United States media on the 7/11 movement in Cuba, which for the first time in 62 years, people claim SOS, we're not afraid, we'll be out there, please help us, the world needs to help us. It got ignored, completely ignored.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. That's a great question, and having relatives that came by way of Cuba, I certainly that's something near and dear to my heart. Conservative Republican Latinos down here, and boy, that population's growing now, isn't it? Right? Democrats used to think they had that vote in the bag, and now it's something like, it's a 50-50 split, basically, because, they see what's happening in Cuba, and all I remember is this drove me effing insane, that when Cubans were protesting in the streets in Miami-Dade, it was called the super spreader event. Isn't that amazing? That's a super spreader. No, I'm sorry. They're fighting for democracy, and they're outside. So, okay, George Floyd protests, that's fine because the cause is bigger than the virus. But when Latinos want to speak out in Florida about what the atrocities that are going on over in Cuba, well, no, they shouldn't gather because it's a super spreader event. It's a joke. But again, as far as Cuba is concerned, I mean, this administration needs to do much, much more than they're doing now. That's certainly for sure. But they just don't care. But the work ethic in general of the people in charge, you can look at every day. Google this tomorrow. Joe Biden's schedule, right? President Biden's schedule. And literally the day ends at like 11 o'clock. I'm not exaggerating. And you're like, well, wait a minute, this is the person running the country, and you know, my kid's kindergarten teacher has like a shorter schedule than him. So it's not just incompetency, but the effort is just not there. And that's, again, they're all gonna get wiped out, I'm telling you. I don't care who runs in 2024, you know, House, Senate, then White House, it's over for that party. It really is. And I'm not saying that to get a cheap applause on him. I don't see who saves them. Who is their Obama, right? This up-and-coming great person that's going to save this party. The left is taking it over. The far left, the squad, AOC, is she going to save it? I want to date her, by the way, boy.
She might say that you're sexually frustrated, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Alexandria Ocasio-Concha, yeah. That'll work. Not. Okay, go ahead.
You have time for one more?
One more.
One more.
Okay.
Here you go, sir.
We'll all forgive you for working for the New York Times. We'll all forgive you for working for the New York Times.
Oh, no, I never worked for it. No, I had a couple of freelance articles published in 2003, and it was about dating, I swear. They really were. I'll send it hilarious.
What do you think about this comment? The American people are sick and tired of all the fraud and corruption going on in Congress. 12% approval rate. What do you think if the American people do not vote for any incumbents?
Oh boy. You know what the problem is? It's
any incumbents, Joe.
It's the strangest stat in the world. You mentioned it. Congress's approval is somewhere in the teens, right? Yet, 90% of incumbents get elected in Congress. Like, they're almost never voted out. So we hate Congress except for that guy, right? It's the Dennis Rodman rule. Like, you hate him when he's on every other team, but when he's on your team, you like him. So I don't know. I don't know how you get changed, particularly with gerrymandering in these districts where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could be a congresswoman for the rest of her life, because in the Bronx and Queens, ain't nobody gonna vote her out because it's just so heavily weighted Democratic. So I know that sounds defeatist, but that's the way it goes. But that said, all you need is a majority to inflict change, and you will be getting that come November. No question. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo-hoo.
Why are you crying? I told that joke to my daughter a couple days ago. She seemed to like it. I just want to end on a happy note. Guys, thanks for having me. This was really fun. Go Bulldogs! Roll time, Joe Concha.
Thank you, Joe, for coming with us.
Thanks, Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's got to skip out of photos and things like that tonight, so bear with us there. But I just want you to know our next meeting, February 21st, we have Paul Manafort coming.